What's up, bitch? I'm back. We're back again with another reading of Blue Moon Nursery. I just watched parts 1 and 2 for the first time in forever, and I was intrigued. I wanted to see what happens next. So here we are. I'm back again. There were some wonderful people in the comments. Diamond in the Sky 4771, who told me the web archive now works. Fugber7917, who told me about this, which didn't make any sense until it did make sense, and then it was quite helpful. And it's just some other interesting comments here. The worst part is it gets so much worse. Buckle up, you're in for you're in for a fucked up ride. And apparently I sound like YouTube account 3336's friend, so that's cool. Alright, are you ready? I'm ready. At last, I'll explain the ecology of the Smurfs in my alternate world. Squeaky Smurf, in part 2 of this chapter, Tattlerette will actually meet, talk to, and handle Dewdrop and Blueberry. This gives us more time to study how to draw Raven's character, Ravenchild. I had to use some of your drawing to trace, since I'm not really that proficient at drawing, and it would take too long to develop a likeness entirely on my own. Alright, here we go. Tattlerette meets Dewdrop and Blueberry, part 1. My lady friend from the Blue Moon Nursery and I found out about a conference hosted in part by SMURF. Smurfs Matters, Understanding and Relations Foundation. The organisation was a new NGO set up to address the issues involving Smurf-human interactions, limited as they were. We took my car. Blueberry and Dewdrop sat in the back snugly in a special car seat that my friend devised. She truly had a knack for making small items. It was a 3-hour drive further up the coast from the nursery to the conference centre. Security was tight and I had to register and pass through a metal detector. Also, I wasn't allowed to bring any container large enough to keep a Smurf hidden in. Apparently, the single greatest human threat towards Smurfs was trafficking, especially of baby Smurfs, since they were exceptionally rare. We were allowed to bring our respective baby Smurfs in with us. Amongst a crowd of philanthropists, zoologists and politicians, my companion and I received much attention, for we were the only ones in possession of a baby Smurf. My friend waved some onlookers off as we made our way toward our reserved seats. Our shy baby Smurfs weren't used to the sight of so many humans in one place, and they clung fearfully to each other in Dewdrop's little wicker baby carrier. When the speaker was introduced, at first I couldn't see anything. But then something small climbed onto the podium. I bet it's a Smurf. And suddenly, an image materialized onto the auditorium's large projector screen. Magnified on it 100-fold was the speaker, a tiny, blue-skinned woman wearing a pink dress, shoes, and a signature Smurf cap. The speaker was a Smurfette! So that's what an adult Smurf looked like. The petite creature introduced herself.
Smurfy afternoon, my name is Tattlerette. I imagine most of you are here because you want to better understand Smurfs and the consequences of recent human-Smurf relations, which have only begun to have significant impact less than a decade ago.
The azure-complexioned Thumbelina then commenced her speech with remarkable articulation. She began with the sporadic interactions between man and Smurf during centuries past. The significant incidents didn't occur until satellite images began finding Smurf villages all over the globe. She mentioned the incidents of a dozen villages being discovered by poachers or smugglers, and how Smurfs have become the hot new item in the exotic pet market, especially baby Smurfs. She also mentioned international resolutions to define the basic rights of Smurfs in order to help protect them from abuse. Nothing had been made official, but a handful of biolabs had made an agreement not to use Smurfs for science experiments, which is good. I thought back to the day I'd found Blueberry in the box meant for the lab nearby, and shuddered to think what might have been. Driving past, I had seen the laboratory picketed by animal rights groups on several occasions. When Tattlerette at last reached the topic of baby Smurfs, I was especially attentive.
It's unknown where baby Smurfs actually come from, or even how they come into being, except that it is by some type of enchantment. What is known is that they are always delivered to a Smurf village by a stork. There are two things that seem to cause such an event. The first is the astronomical phenomenon known as a blue moon. It is said that on the night of a blue moon, a baby smurf, or even twin baby smurfs, come to a village where love is most needed.
It sounded very beautiful.
The other way,
She continued.
is Lucy referring to as signaling the stalk, which is preferred by a married smurf and smurfess in private. I'm sorry, you all know what I mean.
The tiny blue lady winked, and there was a short interlude of stifled laughter in the audience.
We smurfs appreciate the goodwill of humans like yourselves, since we become rather vulnerable when our evasion techniques fail in the face of modern technology.
She concluded. A moment of silence passed, and then Tata Lorette announced.
It has come to my attention that there are two baby smurfs here in the audience. Would their guardians mind coming on stage so that I can see them?
My friend and I stood, carrying the wee little blue creatures in their wicker basket. They had been sleeping all the way through, exhausted as they were from the car ride. But suddenly they realized another smurf stood before them, and they excitedly waved their tiny arms toward Tata Lorette and crying desperately out in tiny voices. We made our way to the stage as two plainclothes security guards flanked us. Once more you got it, Smurf in hand. This chapter, more than being a moving one, invites us to reflection. Peoples in the whole world can hardly understand each other. Just imagine towards cute little smurfs. Hence the need of a better acknowledgement among all, either being smurfs or humans, as Tata Lorette explained so well. Sorry friend, but there's only one thing I didn't like very much. The presence of politicians. What would they do there except for showing off? There's something else I'd like to add, Smurf in hand. The more I read your stories, the more I feel like to adopt a baby Smurf. Figurine, of course. That was a comment there by Squeaky Smurf, who we all remember from before. Keep on always smurfing, as they always say. No, hey, that was awesome. You did a great job with Tata Lorette. I can see you use my older sketches, which is fine. I may draw some updated versions of the adult Smurf soon. I look forward to reading part 2. That's Ravenchild, who made Tata Lorette. Squeaky Smurf, sorry, I meant adopting. Smurf in hand. My computer has been down, and I lost all of my previous works and stories, including the latest story. I may never create a refined and coloured version of this picture in the future, so I want to display what I have now, along with this new story. P.S. Squeaky, as you've seen, many humans in my series have no sensitivity toward the well-being of Smurfs, and some are outright cruel to the tiny blue beings. The politicians are there for their own gain, of course. With Smurfs being so vulnerable, and with no officially defined rights, it's no wonder Tata Lorette has armed guards. You definitely should adopt a baby Smurf. Dewdrop and Blueberry meet Tata Lorette. Blueberry and Dewdrop excitedly crawled out of a basket at Tata Lorette's feet. The adult Smurf picked up Blueberry, and holding him with the crook of her arm, she squeezed and scratched the tiny blue infant's plump Smurf tail. Blueberry closed his little eyes and emitted a joyful noise I'd never heard from him before. It sounded like half purring, half gurgling. Oh, sorry, I meant... Dewdrop looked enviously up at Blueberry and Tata Lorette, and lifted her bottom up toward Tata Lorette as high as it would go, wiggling her stubby blue tail for attention.
They seem to be well careful. What's their names?
Tata Lorette inquired as she gave the excited Dewdrop's tail an affectionate squeeze. Dewdrop and Blueberry, my friend answered. I simply had to ask Tata Lorette, how did you get Blueberry to make that sound?
Well,
Tata Lorette began.
firstly, there is no substitute for the affection of an adult Smurf. Baby Smurfs are affected more deeply as a result. Secondly, during early development, baby Smurfs are in some ways like animals, so they enjoy being stroked in a way similar to the way one of your human pets do.
She continued.
There aren't many humans in this world that actually treat the Smurf, or especially baby Smurf, with the kind of care and consideration that you do are. However, if you reach the point where you don't believe you can adequately care for your adopted baby Smurf, I know of a protected village in Belgium that you take them in. They will be amongst their own kind and will be loved and safe. Well, at least safe as long as the humans there honoured their promise to preserve the Smurf sanctuary.
We talked for a few more minutes and then Tattlerette had to go. She had a busy schedule and a particularly difficult mission of getting humans to understand the increasingly vulnerable position of the Smurfs. When I brought Blueberry back home, he was very sleepy and ready for bed. Before placing him into his sleeping sock, I set the tiny blue creature on my pillow and patted his head. Then I laid him on his stomach and tickled his tiny pea of a tail until the baby Smurf erupted with a fit of giggling. Oh! While the wee thing was still breathless from laughter, I rolled it over and tickled its soft tummy as well. Alas, I couldn't evoke that sound from him he'd made earlier in the Smurfette's arms. There had been the sound of pure joy, and I'd love to have heard it from my adopted baby Smurf just once more. I tucked Blueberry into his sleeping sock with a final pat on his little Smurf hat. I said, "I love you, Blueberry." Blueberry smiled up at me and responded with a tiny Ravenchild. That was a very cute chapter. I just have one question. If the last few paragraphs Little Tulip is not mentioned, does she not go home with your lead character, narrator, and Blueberry? Plus, very cute pic of Tattlerette and the Smurflings. Squeaky Smurf. How cute your latest chapter is, Smurf in hand. Is your computer up again? I found the links of your work. Can you copy, paste, and save all? Otherwise, if you have a printer, you could also print the text and keep them safe. It's kind of boring stuff here. Smurf in hand replies, Squeaky Smurf, my computer is working for now. Not even the professionals were able to save my data. I'll download all my works from this site eventually, and then save them to multiple media. I have no working CD burner, but I'll find someone who does. Thanks for the offer, Squeaky. Ravenchild, I'm pleased that you cared enough to ask. Dewdrop is the adopted baby Smurfling of the lady who works at the Blue Moon Nursery and became friends with the main character. Dewdrop doesn't live with Blueberry. Dewdrop is first introduced in the Blueberry's First Miracle chapter on page 2 with the two baby Smurfs glowing and beating hearts animated gif. The lady adoptive mother herself is first mentioned in the chapter on the first page as the pleasant looking woman who was caring for the baby Smurfs. She's not the stern nurse who stripped Blueberry naked, including his hat, and then took his temperature the way vets do with cats or dogs oft times, if you know what I mean. The part of the story is on page 1 and shows Blueberry trying to cover his little blue bald scalp with his hands and whimpering. Feel free to ask any other questions you want, even if it's about something not in any of the chapters, because I have more information than what I've written here. I hope my explanation helps. It takes a while to load these things. Oh. I don't know whether that's so funny. Oh. Thanks. Thanks, Smurf in hand. That does help. Alright. 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 Smurf. Why? Alright. It was a cozy winter day. And Blueberry... It was a cozy winter day. And Blueberry was... Blueberry was babbling and clapping his tiny hands, sitting on my lap as I read the paper. As I was leafing through the advertisements for a major newspaper from across the country, a certain item in the pet adoption section caught my eye. There, somewhere on the other coast, a baby Smurf was evidently being housed and offered up as if it were a tiny creature like a hamster or something. Actually, Tatlerette had told me about the plight of captured baby Smurfs, even in the hands of well-meaning but ignorant humans, and how rarely they flourished in such captivity. Makes you think about yourself. Smurf in hand. The blue-skinned Lilliputian's baby's name was Strawberry, and nevertheless looked happy and healthy in a newspaper photo. Blueberry seemed to pick up on my concern and became quiet, and looking up at me, his teensy mouth opened and out came a squeak. I phoned my lady friend, Dewdrop's human mother, who worked at the Blue Moon Nursery as a general caregiver. Leaving a message on her answering machine, I told her about the ad and asked if she could find out if a Blue Moon Nursery could adopt the tiny blue infant. Otherwise, wee little Strawberry Smurf may end up in a cage in some wealthy person's house, eventually wasting away from a lack of emotional support. Baby Smurfs may sometimes act like rodents, as Tatlerette had explained, but they were not meant to be pets for humans. I decided then to call the adoption agency myself. Perhaps I could hold off the adoption of this innocent little being until the nursery could make an offer. I picked up the phone, wondering what if Strawberry was already out of their hands. I looked at the photograph again. The perky little blue face beamed at me. Something about that innocent tiny little face evoked such concern in me. What if someone like the reprobate that had abused Dewdrop ever got a hold of her? Tatlerette had said that over 50% of Smurfs, baby or adult in human captivity, had been deliberately harmed at some point, and that 10% had even been. Someone answered the phone. Exotic Pet Exotic Pet Adoption Agency, how may I direct your call? Pet Adoptions, meet Strawberry. The frisky and spunky little baby Smurf needs a loving home. She's very playful and curious, but most of all she loves to cuddle and have her tiny blue Smurf tail played with. Can this guy stop talking about the tails? Fuck me. Will you take her home today? This ad sponsored by Huggies Diapers, now available in baby Smurf size. Diapers include a special hope for Smurf's tail. Fuck off. Ravenchild. Oh, Picture Strawberry is so cute and very exciting plot. Squeaky Smurf. She's as adorable as Blueberry and Dewdrop. It's a pity that Strawberry is, in spite of being well treated, seen as if she was a pet when in fact she's simply a baby of other species. I hope Strawberry shall be in safe hands just in time. Oh, and before I forget, Smurf in hand, exactly today is left 1 month for Smurf's 50th anniversary, the 23rd of October. It was so close to being today's date, in a way. How about doing some commemorative pics with your baby Smurfs? It would be lovely. The Happy Smurfs Day link is here. Let's double check I'm recording and everything. Yes. Smurf in hand. I'll try to make a picture for the anniversary if I can. Yeah, I'm happy with how Strawberry's pic came out. The pyjamas look softer with the tiny cross hatching. I can just imagine the pokeably soft body beneath them, and I try to include that unique little tail as much as possible. I'm drawing on real paper and using the scanner now. Alright, I think we can do this one more page, at least for this video. Alright, and I'll try not to take like a year for another video as well. Alright, I'm enjoying this. It turned out that Strawberry was still available, and within a week I'd taken a plane out to the agency with papers authorising me to act for the Blue Moon Nursery. My friend was watching Blueberry while I was gone. She always took Dewdrop to work with her at the nursery, and now my baby Smurf was with him too, playing and napping with all the other baby Smurfs. I picked up Strawberry at the agency and signed the papers. If only she wouldn't show up on an X-ray security scan, I might have secretly bore her in my coat pocket on the plane. But she would have to ride in the pet compartment. Sedated by an injection in her tail, the baby Smurf lay on a heap of shredded newspaper in a cage for rodents. The tiny blue creature had been trained to drink from the water dispenser meant for hamsters, and to eat dried Smurfberry food pellets from a tray which was attached to the cage wall. Scattered about were a few toys, a plastic ball, and some alphabet blocks included. The staff of the exotic pet agency said that usually they didn't dress Strawberry except for her Smurf hat. They remarked that for some reason she always seemed uncomfortable without her hat. They had figured though that making her some matching pajamas and dressing her, rather than letting her crawl around naked, would make her look more appealing for the adoption ad picture and prospective owners. "We tried to make it look like a real baby," they explained. They also told me that many people were initially fascinated with the tiny blue creature, but after realising it couldn't perform any tricks and simply played a bit, crawled, cried and slept, they decided they didn't need something so useless. The staff members had adored her though, lavishing all the attention they could spare, feeling almost as if Strawberry weren't just a pet. I mean, my hamster couldn't really do any tricks, but I still kind of, I thought my hamster was cool. Eventually, Strawberry was introduced to the other Smurf babies of the nursery. She readily accepted her new home and siblings. This tiny blue infant was a cheerful creature for certain. By this time, I'd become the nursery's one and only authorised volunteer. That week, I brought Blueberry to the nursery, and Dewdrop's human mother let me into the room where the baby Smurfs lived. I spent a wonderful afternoon playing with Dewdrop, Strawberry, and my Blueberry, in addition to the other little Smurfs there. I gently poked at and tickled the soft, delicate little pyjama-clad beings as they squealed, squeaked, giggled, tumbled, and rolled about in their miniature playpen. During nap time, Strawberry fell asleep between Dewdrop and Blueberry. The three baby Smurfs had snuggled together under the same little blanket. I couldn't have staged a more precious scene. The Blue Moon administrator permitted me to snap this one picture of them together. You may see it below. After all too short a time, we had to leave. I had to pry Blueberry's and Strawberry's tiny blue hands off of each other's teensy Smurf tails as they sat side by side looking up at me with dismay. "We have to go home now, Blueberry," I stated. "You'll see your little blue friends again." The truth was, I didn't want to go home either. But the nursery night shift was coming and I had to get home to sleep. I gave Strawberry's and Dewdrop's tails each a squeeze and a gentle little twist between my thumb and forefinger to reassure them. Then, plucking Blueberry up by the seat of his pyjamas, I dropped him into my coat pocket and exited the building. Aww. On the way home, the Lilliputian infant popped its head up out my pocket and looked up at me forlornly. Keeping one eye on the road, I quickly grasped this baby Smurf's bulbous little nose before he could duck back into hiding. With the same gentle squeezing, twisting and stroking I usually administered to the tiny blue creature's elastic tail, I produced the expected calming effect, in addition to a few merry squeaks and giggles. If this wasn't pure joy, then nothing was. I finally refined and coloured the illustration with Tattlerette, Dewdrop and Blueberry. Blueberry is blissfully purring, gurgling away as his sensitive little baby Smurf's tail is scratched for the first time by a grown Smurf. Dewdrop looks up, whimpering for attention with a plaintive look on her tiny face that says, "Oh, scratch my tail too, please." Ravenchild: "Oh, the three baby Smurfs sleeping together are so cute. And great job with the coloured version of Tattlerette and the baby Smurfs. Can't wait to see more Smurf in hand." Squeaky Smurf: "Lovely pictures. The one with the three baby Smurfs sleeping, and Tattlerette playing with them. And that phrase of yours, 'If it wasn't pure joy, then nothing was,' tells everything of your delight and relief over these cute little creatures. creatures. Keep on smurfing. Keep on always smurfing. Trustworthy Smurfette. The 3 baby Smurfs sleeping just melted my heart. Smurfing, are you going to add more to the story soon? So how long was between those? 5 days? 10th of the 6th or 10th of the 11th? Is this English or American dates? It's either like months or days. I assume months because he says, Smurfing says, I know it's been a long time, kitten. Sorry for taking so long to reply, and thanks for the kind comment. You too, Squeaky and Ravenchild. I'll really try to get something going by next weekend. I could just do those cuddly baby Smurf pictures forever, but I need to add some adventure, and I agree. I Bellady agree that he needs to add some adventure because you guys were saying it gets so much worse, it gets more and more disturbing and horrifying. You're in for a fucked up ride, and this episode at least nothing bad has happened. So, and I wanted to see Smurfs being. I wanted to see Smurfs being stabbed. I wanted to see Smurfs being crushed. I wanted to see Smurfs being shot in the head, and so on. And none of that happened today. And I want to continue, but it's getting late, and I have a cold, and I need. I don't know. Just this is the end. This is the end of the episode now.